It looks like we are almost ready. And okay, let's not trip over anything. And let's go. Whew. Good. Icubian Organis for you. Today's Tuesday, the 26th of November, and I thought I'd have this conversation with you. I thought I'd have this conversation because, as the old adage goes, there is no time like the present. And I suppose one of the reasons why I'm going to have this conversation, because today we've had wall-to-wall coverage as we have over the last few months. It's Brexit, and there is a general election coming up next month, early next month. I think it's the 12th or the 13th, the general election. So there's a lot of that going on, and I'm ashamed but not surprised of the Pan-Africanists. Forget that. Let me rephrase that. The coons, the Pan-Africans, who I call COINTEL. Yet again, Jews are attacking. They've got the leading rabbi comes out this morning, wall-to-wall coverage of this rabbi, claiming anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, and Jeremy Corbyn is not fit to lead the country or the party, and Jews are ready to pack their bags because, there's going to be this and that, and it's just a lie. And I'm fed up of it. And the more that these people can do this, if you're in America and you hear any black person of colour from the Caribbean or Africa talking about Pan-Africanism or anything to do with struggle, but yet they're not going to even raise the elephant in the room, Jews claiming to be Hamito-Semitic. That's a lie. That's an absolute lie, and I've been saying it for years, and that's why if anybody gets burnt by what I have to say with the data, the facts, that's your bad. You see, if you're going to want to be COINTEL, be COINTEL. Be happy. And I know that either you stand up or you get called out. It's as simple as that. I'm sick and tired of you. I'm just, do you know what? I'm not even going to lose it. But I'm going to give a big up to Yvette Carnell. I've been listening to her for a while, and she made me open my eyes a little bit about some things that you take for granted. And it's something that she's made an assumption, I've made an assumption, and I think we've all made an assumption. And it's quite possible that Adolf was born out of that assumption. Sometimes assumptions are good, because if we believe that the people from the Caribbean have got a reparations movement, why don't we have one specific to Adolf? And they start getting their movement going. Well, that illusion, it bore fruit. Unintentional fruit, but it bore fruit. So I thought I'd have a look to find out, do we have a movement? Because they're awfully quiet about a lot of things they ought not to be. And who am I? Just a researcher. I'm just somebody powerful enough that one of the top universities is trying to stop me from getting, guess what? A master's. The PhD will be a cinch, but it's at that level, the master's is where they're trying to block me. I've given them 30 days to respond to my complaint. 2 essays, 2 perfectly good essays have been marked down by 2 neo-Marxist white females who don't know what they're talking about. I'm not sorry about it. It's my, you know what I mean? Take it or whatever. Incidentally, this is going to be called Reparations. Are they due? If so, to who? And how do we go about getting such reparations? Right? Something like that. So, I've given them 30 days. 30 days have gone. I thought I'd take off the weekends. Take the weekends out and give them 30 working days. That ends tomorrow. I shall therefore send an email saying, well, what's up with all of this? Do you know what I mean? What's up with all of this? or how, how's things going? I haven't heard anything. Words to that effect. So I'm bigging up Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell, because at the end of the day, there is no time like the present. You've got to take a look at it to find out what it is. And if what it is drops short of what it ought to be, then it could be that a reparations movement begins with me. And I start the CEDOS. That's why I changed the backdrop, because at the end of the day, the United Kingdom benefited from the transatlantic slave trade. Okay? And let's be straight about that. The residuals from that transatlantic slave trade continue to this very day. Because to many extent, we're not free. And how do you know if you're free? How do you know if you're free? Well, in the land of your birth, can you walk and go and come and go as you like? Yes. If you can do that, you've got a modicum of freedom. Can you speak about your access to go and come and so forth? If it's yes, then you're free. You're free to think what you want, and you're free to come and go as you want. The EU doesn't allow that. And I put on my Facebook an article about a poll that's been done. I think it's 2 polls that have said a lot more people are, more black people are voting for black, you know what I mean? Voting for Trump. A lot more, right? And if those figures are correct, Trump is going to walk. He's going to walk it, right? It's going to be very easy. And the Democrat Party is pretty much like the Labour Party. They're both socialist, ergo communist. You know, communist light, but want to get communist heavy. They don't like losing. They like their pet niggers on the plantation. And they'll tell them anything they want to tell them to get a vote, but never improve their situation. In fact, they'll watch over it, see it get worse. In fact, they'll lower the bar and say, we're doing something for you by lowering the bar, rather than helping you to get over the bar that's there in the first place. Everybody should equal access, etc., etc. I think I'm rambling a little bit. Well, maybe not rambling, just haven't gotten to this yet. So, they've had, I don't want to say too much because pardon me. Unfortunately, the attack on the African American has been so sophisticated and so intense, and they've been dumbed down so much, and their leadership is shite. And their academia, in many instances, leaves a lot to be desired. Now, somebody may say, well, hark at you. You know, what academic has come from you? You know, you're even struggling to get a freaking, you know what I mean? There's a lot you can say. But there's also a lot you can learn from this idiot here. If you think I'm an idiot, fine. Now, that's not to say that African Americans have not had an intellectual class. I have Du Bois's book, and I know quite, you don't speak about what you don't know about. You don't come over if you haven't read anything. You know what I mean? I wouldn't, well, whatever. What am I trying to say? They have been dumbed down so much so that they had a guy named Barack Obama. Now, Barack Obama was sold around the world, but he wasn't sold to me. And they used to take the piss out of me, cut me off the radio. This is British, UK talk radio, community pirate radio stations. Genesis was one, Galaxy another. I've got a Barack Obama t-shirt to give you. They just wouldn't hear me trying to tell them who this guy was. Do you know this fella? Why are you... So when everybody's bowing down and great Jesus and all that, I'm like... And the African Americans just wanted to see somebody black. And I'm sorry, but it appears to me, even on YouTube, content creators and thinkers, even they will admit that they just want a black man in. I did not do the research. It was available. This is what gets me so angry with him. It was available. And that man turned around and said no to reparations. And the first thing he did was give Israel money and tell off black men about looking after your children. And I'm like, pardon me? I thought they were doing that anyway. I mean, how many women have got babies outside the womb and got a new man and he's got to look after all of their babies? I don't see Chinese, Koreans, I don't see Jews doing it. It's only going to be the black man doing it, right? But this idiot, this fake president, because he was not natural, but I don't know why you don't know that. Oh, you got to be racist. And then another thing, you know, I mean, I haven't got onto this yet, and it's supposed to be about reparations, but geez. I'm going to do one about this concept of white supremacy, the boogeyman. And I'm going to say it. Anybody who comes up with that crap, and I don't care that, Neely Fuller, I don't care what Neely Fuller said. I don't care what Francis Cress Wessling said. I don't care. They were useful for a time. We grow up. We will wobble, but we don't fall down. We grow up. We mature. We put it in context, and then we look at this big grisly boogeyman and say, actually, no. So when you're Pan-Africanist, that's you, Tariq, you love this white supremacy, don't you? Pity you couldn't put him to bed, eh? Jared Taylor, remember that? Idiot. So, I don't buy that. I mean, we're all part of the family of man, and we all fall short, and we all do well. But it's for us to keep us in check, and we've got to be honest about it. And therefore, if you're going to be honest, you use your freedom and access to any medium. That's your United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 19, which to me is in line with what God gave me discernment anyway. So I don't argue about that. When people give you rights, they can also take them away. I'm a child of God, so you know what I mean? But I agree with that one, because it tallies with what God says. Anybody doesn't like what I have to say, you don't have to watch it, you can switch off. You know what I mean? So, if you're going to talk about reparations, you better be talking about the truth. And I don't want to keep doing this, right? Because it's much more than this. But I bet none of you looked at this the last time I did a video and said, let me get that book and have a read of it myself. It's called Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean. Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean. Inside this is some very interesting information. You could call it a boast, if you will. You know, when people don't feel that you're not wake, you know, they will boast. I think I've gone through this before, but I did make an error. This book is The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, Volume 1, not Volume 3, Volume 1. Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, Volume 2. This one's about the Leo Frank case, Volume 3. It's a weighty tome. You know, if you don't know anything about the Leo Frank case, you may find it interesting. It's the birth of the B'nai B'rith ADL. But that's what came out of it in the end, right? So what I speak of, I know of, I've done the research. I don't need your whatever it is that you think about me. Most of you are repeaters anyway. That's not to disrespect you. I was once a repeater. It sounded good. Plausible. That's not necessarily true, though, is it? Theory is not necessarily true, though, is it? No. But I live reality. Sometimes it's uncomfortable for me, for you, for everybody else. But you know how you mature is accepting the fact that it happened. It occurred. And you've also got to realize that some of your greats were actual clientele. And they were putting down seeds for when you get to knee high and start to read. You're misled. And when you get to that height, you're still misled. So it's down to somebody like me. I call myself a social detective. is you know, you got your revisionists, but they got a bad name. But just examining what was and finding out, does it stand up? Does it stand up to what it is? So I am a bit of a unprofessional historian, if you will. I don't have a PhD. So I wanted to find out about the assumption about this reparations movement coming from the Caribbean. That's established and they've got it all together. Let's get ours together. And I'm thinking, yeah, what about that movement from the Caribbean? So I thought, well, hang on a minute. Let's go and find out about any reparations movement and who these guys are. Now, I was listening to Antonio Moore the other day, and he mentioned N'Cobra. I was like, that's funny, I've just got this document about N'Cobra. And who are they? Well, this is the document, right? I'm not going to read it all. So what is N'Cobra? Is that apostrophe C-O-B-R-A, like the snake. The National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America is a mass-based coalition organization for the sole purpose of obtaining reparations for African descendants in the United States. N'Cobra's founding meeting, September 26, 1987, you know, was convened for the purpose of broadening the base of support for the long-standing reparations movement organizational founders of N'Cobra, including the National Conference of Black Lawyers, the New African People's Organization, and the Republic of New Africa, whoever they are, throughout the US and in Ghana and London. It is directed nationally by a board of directors. It is directed nationally by a board of directors. Its work is organized through 9 national commissions: economic development, human resources, legal strategies, legislation, information and media, membership and organizational development, international affairs, youth and education. I'm not quite sure why I'm struggling with my reading, but I am. In September 2003, N'Cobra formed a 501c3 corporation. I will stop right there. There's quite a lot going on with this, but it's only when you go to the website, I'm thinking, and when last did you update it? I'm like, it looks like a dead website. It looks like something that was. It looks like, you know, when COINTEL do something, they get a little attention, they draw you away, and they drive that nice car into a brick wall, and you get nothing out of it. It's been silent on politics. You didn't even know it existed. I didn't know. What about it? It's a bit like John Conyers' HR 40. Elizabeth Warren, Senator, Pocahontas, Chief, what? Bigfoot liar, Chief sitting bullcrap. One of the white females who benefited greatly from affirmative action by saying she was part Cherokee, and she ain't. Well, nothing to do with it. Has less percentage Cherokee in her than the average white guy. Anyway, she said, "Oh yes, well, you know, Democrat. We're going to look at it. We're going to talk about it. Nobody wants to look at anything. Reparations. Don't look at it. Nobody wants to talk about it. It's overdue, mate. Talking and all the rest of it. We've seen the movies. We've seen all of that, documentaries. The books are out there. We don't need to have any commissions for anything apart from, let's, as the Americans will say, cut that check." And it is about money. At the end of the day, it is about money, right? It's always going to be about money. We were once property. That's money. So that's N'Cobra. And just by looking at the website, it doesn't look like anything's going on. You can look at the website yourself, N'Cobra, right? N-C-O, N and the snake, right? Look at it for yourself, right? So that's one. Then I phoned somebody earlier on today and I said, well, get back at me because you appear to be one of those people who, you know, follow the Pan-Africans and don't get when I say they're Pan-Africans. And I'll get to that in a minute. But obviously I've jumped. So it's a bit scrambled. So I spoke about N'Cobra. But a lot of people don't get it. They really don't get it. And I don't think you should say anything about anything unless you're willing to speak the truth. Of course, some people are going to get upset. Hey, stop thief. Thief, what are you calling me? Well, that's my stuff you've got in your pocket there. What do you mean, man? You know what I mean? And if he's bigger than you, he's got the cheek to want to fight you because you accused him of stealing your stuff. Nobody likes to be called out when they're guilty. So if I say Jews created the transatlantic slave trade, they did. They may regret it now that they may have to pay for it, but that to me is tough titty. Shouldn't have done it. But just to make matters clearer for you, I report here, the transatlantic slave trade, TAST, created by Jews, used their profits to build these synagogues. So I'm going to go through some of these synagogues because some people don't know where they are and how old they are. Well, you've got the Sher Shalom Synagogue, and that was built in get this, the Sher Synagogue, the Sher Shalom Synagogue. That's how you spell it. Look at that. That's in Jamaica. Okay, in Jamaica. Now I've got two dates here. 1692. How about that? You think I'm joking? There it is. Right? I think it was refurbished in 1704. Jamaica, right? So, they're well established. They set up base in Sri Lanka. And of course, when they were kicked out of Spain, they went to Holland. And there set up base in Holland, okay? That's the synagogue there. And we're talking about, this one is 1675. 1675, right? So it's around about the same time. They're spreading their wings. They're doing their thing. Here, we have, oh, hang on a minute. Let's get it. Yeah. This is the oldest one in England. It's called the Bevis Mark Synagogue. And that, again, all around the same time. They were banished for good from England in 1290. But they got back in under some, terrorism. First the Civil War. And because the Cromwell wasn't king. So he couldn't undo a king. Only a royal can undo a royal expulsion. So they were upset that they couldn't come back in and do their thievery. So they burnt London down in 1666 and 1701. So we're talking about the same period. Here it is. The Bevis Marks Synagogue. Okay? Bevis Marks Synagogue. That's it right there. I don't really want anybody to be upset with me because I didn't do it. You know, the old Shaggy, it wasn't me. If you did it, that's your business. And then we got the Nideh Israel Synagogue. The Nideh Israel Synagogue, okay, is right here. And that's 1627 in Barbados. So that's your Pirates of the Caribbean and their booty, you know. And what do we call booty? Women. And what do slave owners do to their slaves? Is rape. They rape and rape and rape. Unfortunately, it means some of their descendants' blood runs through the veins of some of us from the Caribbean. Also, some of us in the United States. Problem with that is, it would explain why some of us do some heinous stuff. Because these people are of a different breed. They're of a different breed. They don't play by our laws. They don't play by God's laws. and I'm not sure that they actually believe in the Creator. Now, that might sound offensive to some. You are what you are. If you behave a certain way, then that's who you are. Why should I say any different? And it's not particularly an attack on you. It is who you are. So this is about reparations. I just thought, we're going to start with the basis. Who did it? Where does the evidence lead? I'm a social detective. Where does the evidence lead you? And why should those who are guilty stop you from saying what it is? I think the more... Listen, where has it got you so far? Let me do a Trumpism. What have you got to lose? You're keeping quiet and you let it... Why would you allow them to attack Professor Leonard Jeffries unfairly? Or Professor Tony Martin? Why would you let them get away with that? Yet these people can lie and moan, and never stop. And never stop. They don't pull back and say, oh, at least they said sorry. Or no. They want you to censor you. And you go along with it. And where's it got you? Economically, what? Nothing. You get nothing. You get nada. I'm not playing their game. I'm not volunteering. I don't volunteer for that. I'm not self-censoring myself for somebody else who doesn't give a about me or my ancestors or my progeny. They don't care. If you care, you speak the truth. Somebody, they keep saying, well, on the one hand they said he didn't exist, Jesus didn't exist, the next minute they can't stand him. Well, he told you, the truth will make you free. Anything else that means will keep you in bondage. Who's enslaving you? It's that man in the mirror you're going to look at. It's that man in the mirror. So, who's due reparations? Well, ADOS and CDOS. We've got the evidence. Evidence trumps theories and plausibility. Because these are facts. They're documented facts. Okay? So, I just spent a day just doing cursory research, and I thought, let me have a look at pictures and stuff, and I found this article. Because it amazes me. We've got a professor, Dr. Robert Beckford. Dr. Robert Beckford did a documentary called The Empire Pays Back. He has a solicitor and an economist, an accountant, I think it was. Two white guys and a black professor. And they calculated that Britain, the UK, owes the descendants of slaves, get this figure, 7.5 trillion. That's with a T. 7.5 trillion. Do you know that I have called into all these Pan-African radio stations and they won't talk about it? They won't talk about secret relationships between blacks and Jews. They won't do it. That's why I'm telling you, you act like it, then you must well be COINTEL. Because speak the truth. The truth will make you free. But most of these things, they can't, they think the Bible and Jesus is white, blonde, blue-eyed, and it's all that kind of nonsense. They just, they lack any, it's unfortunate, but it's skillfully done by artful, devious people. Put dumb people in charge, and dumb people will lead your people nowhere. So they're not going to ask the right questions. They're the ones who'll get on the radio and embarrass you. They're the ones who'll put out the thing, oh, Mozart was black, this was black, that was black, we invented this, we did that, we're kings and queens. Nonsense. Substantiating nothing. You know what I mean? I do find it tiresome having to tell these people, be careful with what they run with. Unless you can prove it or get some evidence, don't take it up. And don't invent things about what white people did to black people in slavery. You don't need to. Go with what they did. That's enough. Don't, oh, they fed us to alligators, our babies to alligators. Can you prove it? No. You know what I mean? Oh, butt breaking, yes, butt breaking. Can you prove it? No. And I'm telling you, it's not true. Willie Lynch, shut up. I'm sick and tired of you idiots. Anyway, let me get back to this. Because the more you open your mouth, the more you do, you know. Anyway, there's enough on the books that we got them banged for. Banged to rights. And we know the names. We know who did it. We don't need to say, well, you know, all white people. It wasn't all white people. Get that in your head as well, right? Should be,